Hi, I'm Maya from Bookworm Dreams and welcome to a new video. Today I'm going to talk about all the books that I read for the Shiftathon Readathon. So the Shiftathon Readathon was a readathon that happened last week. It was created and hosted by Sam from Thoughts on Tomes and her friend Michael, whose last name escapes me, but all the information will be down below along with my TBR video and recommendations video for that readathon. I read 6 books for this readathon, so let's just start. I sort of kept to my TBR, but I didn't read all of it. I just sort of continued on with the series, so that's how my reading went. So I started this readathon with reading Clean Sweep, which is book 1 in the Innkeeper Chronicles by Ilona Andrews. The shifter in this story is Sean Evans, who is a werewolf shifter. Now, this is a story that set place somewhere in, oh God, I want to say Texas or somewhere. Anyway, somewhere in the South. We follow Dinah, who has an inn. Now, this is a magical inn, which is basically a ways point for various aliens and stuff that all look human-like, sort of, to come and, you know, be in an inn, I guess. And Dinah herself has some magical powers, basically, that help her not control the inn, but help the guests in and work with the inn together to keep them safe and protected. In the first book, Dinah has to protect her guests and the humans in her neighborhood from a mysterious danger. During her job, she meets Sean Evans, who is a werewolf, and she meets, oh my God, what's the dude's name? He's like a space vampire. Something that starts with A. I'll write it down here. Basically, and they sort of create this, not love triangle, because like both of the dudes are sort of interested in her, but you know, the first story sort of is set on building this world and sort of building the foundations of this world, so you know what the fuck is happening, right? So it was a typical urban fantasy, nothing special. I gave it 3 stars. But then I went to book 2, which is called Sweep in Peace, in which Dinah's Inn is basically a place for peace talks for a galactic conflict. And now Dinah has to take care of vampires, merchants, this is space merchants, and a very hostile race whose name escapes me right now. Basically, she has to make sure that her inn is hospitable to all 3 of them, and that they have a place to, you know, work out their peace talks. She also has to protect her human neighbors from these conflicting space creatures and, you know, their fights, you know, if they spill out into the neighborhood. I gave that book 4 stars because there was an overall rise in quality in the story. You can definitely see the difference between the first book and the second book. The characters seemed better. They were better written, well-rounded. The plot seemed better, and the stakes were definitely higher. The main character seemed to be more in control of, not of what was happening, but she seemed a bit more passive in the first story, while in the second one she was more active, and we got to see like some of her powers and how she uses them to help the guests in her inn. And she participated more in the overall action. Of course, she was forced to by the arbiters. But yeah, it was a better book than the first one. And then I read the third one because I was like, well, I have it, let's just read it. And the third one is One Fell Sweep. In this story, we meet some of Dinah's family members. So basically, she gets a message from her sister that she needs help. So she goes to help the sister. Now, her sister Maud left the planet. She married some vampire dude who became the marshal of his vampire family, right? But of course he had attempted a coup and failed, and they were exiled, and then he tried it again, and then he was executed. So her sister is a complete badass and went around and killing everybody who was connected to her husband's death. They also have a daughter, Helen. So Dinah went to help her sister with the help of Sean Evans, the space werewolf dude, who basically spent the second book traveling around space and sort of getting experiences, because he didn't know he was a space werewolf. He thought he was a regular Earth werewolf. In the second book, we sort of find out what he did, and he joins the story like in the last third of the book. And now he's like safely put on Earth with Dinah, and they're trying to figure out, you know, what is happening between them, or if they can live together. So after saving her sister and coming back to Earth, she sort of meets this creature that asks for her help. They want her inn to be a place where they can meet this galactic creature thingy that's it's made out of different parts. So Dinah has to go around space and collect the parts and put them together so they can create this being, so this creature can ask them questions. And these creatures have an enemy of another alien race who basically follow them, and there's this clan of assassins that is trying to destroy the inn and, you know, the creatures inside, and, you know, kill Dinah and whatnot, and they're using really a lot of ways to do so. The third one was, you know, most action-packed. We got to see how badass everyone is. We got to see vampires again, we got to see, like, a lot of things, and the stakes were the highest in this one. If you have read any of Ilona Andrews' books, then you know sort of what is going to happen, but it is so well done, and, you know, it's like, you get the emotional kick that you need from whatever is happening in the story. I listened to the graphic audio production of these stories, which was interesting because they have a tagline, it's a movie in your head. So they basically have special effects and, you know, like background noise and music and whatnot. So you can enjoy the story. But I have one complaint about this one. They made all the romance scenes seem porny. Like when they were kissing, there's literally a scene where Dinah and Sean were kissing, and there was like porn music in the background, and I'm listening to it, I'm like, why? Also, whenever they were kissing, and there was one smutty scene, but it was like in the third book, it was like the enjoyment noises were really distracting, and I was like, what the fuck is this? But yeah, overall, it was a very cool production and a very cool way to listen to those books, and you know, I had a great time reading them. Then I read book 5 and book 6 in the Mystic Bayou series by Molly Harper, and I finished the series. So basically all the books in the Mystic Bayou series are basically the same. There is a shifter couple or human shifter couple that sort of meets at the beginning, and they work on their relationship throughout the book, and there is like a bad guy that is trying to disrupt the peace of Mystic Bayou. Now, Mystic Bayou is a very special place where all the shifters of, you know, before the humans don't know that exist, basically meet and live there in relative peace with some other humans. Now, in book 5, Shifters in the Night, we follow Leah and John. John is a Selkie, and Leah is she shifts into a deer, and they basically meet at the beginning of the book, and they sort of start this relationship, which was very fun to follow because John was sort of a recluse until recently, and Leah works for like a big, not management company, but she works on different like building projects and such. And in this 5th book, her boss is sort of the bad guy of the story because he's trying to turn Mystic Bayou into like this huge development, mostly like storefronts and stuff, and just ruin the charm of Mystic Bayou. So this is what they're dealing with in the 5th book. In the 6th book, we follow Eve and Alex. Alex is a human. He works for the League of, I always want to say League of Legends, but it's not League of Legends. Basically, the League is like the shifter, mythical creature governing society, right? And so he's there like trying to make sure everything works. You know, he's in charge of development, in charge of building, in charge of everything, basically. And throughout the story, I think we first meet him in like the, I want to say 2nd or 3rd book, we sort of find out a bit about his history. He's also kind of been sort of not left behind, but left out from our main group because, you know, he doesn't have a partner. Apparently, you have to have a partner to be part of this group, but whatever, because everyone's friends with everybody, the newcomers and whatnot. And we met Eve in the previous book, in book 5. She basically came and started working with John in his boat repair shop. Now the two of them meet and, you know, start their dalliance, and later we find out that Eve is being hunted by something from her past. I don't want to spoil stuff for you. But yeah, it was cute, it was fun. Like every other book that I've read in this series, the supporting characters are the best, and they're what make this story, because the whole series creates this whole big found family with ridiculous characters that just love and care for each other and want to protect everybody, and it's really a fun series, definitely to binge if you've got the time. So yeah, I read that and it was so much fun. And the last book I read for this readathon was a Cressley Cole book. It's book 3 in the Immortals After Dark series, which is called, oh my god, Wicked Deeds on a Winter's Night. A title that has nothing to do with the story inside, but whatever. Anyway, so this is a story in which we follow Bowen, who is a Lycan, like a werewolf shifter, and Mercata, and Mariketa, who is, I think her name is Mariketa. Anyway, she is a witch. Now, Bowen has had a very bad experience with his mate, like a billion years ago, he found his mate, and during one of the full moons, basically scared her and she died. So after her death, Bowen's like suffering for like a millennia basically, and he's like, oh, I have to stay true to my mate and whatnot, and it's like stupid anyway. So at the beginning of the book, we find him and Mariketa in a competition, a very dangerous, important competition whose prize is this artifact that will let you travel back in time twice. So he wants to win this thing so he can go back and save his mate. Mariketa wants to do it so she can prove to her coven and her friends that she's capable of doing things, because she's like the awaited one. She's supposed to like bring balance or some shit to her witchy power people. But she has power, which is very unpredictable, but she doesn't control it the way other witches do, and she basically blows things up mostly when she tries to do stuff. So throughout this story, she finds this mirror thing that helps her control her power. But the thing is with this story, so the first time Bowen and Mariketa meet, the first thing he does is sexually assault her, and she's like, oh, I don't mind this. And this could be sort of categorized as enemies to lovers, but I did not like any of them. Like, I did not, Bowen especially, because he had this sort of old-fashioned view of the world, and he's like, when he meets Mariketa, he's like, well, is she my mate? Well, I only have one mate, so what's happening? And when he's sort of coming around to the idea that she might be his mate, he's like, you are not going to be a witch anymore, because he has bad experiences with witches. You're going to, stay at home and take care of the kids. And I mean, it's such an old-fashioned view of the world. And of course, Mariketa is sort of fighting this and whatnot, but it's just, it was very annoying to read. I gave it 2 stars in the end, because I mean, I rolled my eyes through most of it, but I was like, it's kind of short. I can live through the audiobook, and I did. I gave it 2 stars. For just general bad behavior from our main character. I usually like alpha werewolves, but this was kind of not I don't know. Maybe I was in the mood for alpha werewolves, but maybe the audiobook narration wasn't really good, because he had a Scottish accent and he was kind of a bit exaggerated and whatnot. So yeah, whatever. Did not really care about the main romance, so I think I'm going to DNF the whole series, because I really don't care anymore. Those were the books that I read for this readathon. If you have read any of them, please share your thoughts down below. If you have participated in this readathon, you want me to check out your video, please leave the link to it down below in the comments. There are some links in the description box to some worldwide matters for you to check out. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel, like this video, and thank you for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye!